Hi everyone, my name is Pat, and today I am going to be talking to you about the books that I finished for May. So for the month of May, I finished a total of 13 books. If you are new here and you haven't seen any of my other videos, I did join the Asian Readathon for the month of May. So I do have a few books on that list that I finished here. I completed all the prompts for that readathon, but I also have quite a few things that I did want to read for this month. So I actually had a really big TBR and I didn't read all of it. I think I missed like 2 books for that TBR, but it's still a really huge one. Very, very ambitious, but I'm actually really happy with the way my reading went. And you're gonna see how and why I kind of slowed down this month. So 13 books is still a lot. Yes, let's get started. First book that I finished is Crooked Kingdom by Lee Bardugo. My plan was to finish this in the month of April for, the Shadow and Bone show, but it's not really necessary for you to read this because this happened years after the Shadow and Bone whole trilogy, and especially like the first season of the show. But I read this years ago and I didn't remember anything that happened, and it felt like I was reading it the first time and it broke me. I cried. I literally sobbed, ugly cried because of this book. And I was so heartbroken that I couldn't, when I picked up my next book, I wanted to choose something that was light and easy to digest because this was too emotional for me. And it's very rare for a book to, I'm a crier, okay, I cry easily, but it's very rare for a book to make me wish the ending was different and for me to literally rewrite the ending in my head because I wanted the ending to be different. The ending is not bad, but it's too heartbreaking for me that in my head to kind of just, console myself, I made a different ending in my head. So if you guys haven't read the book, please read it. If you didn't like Shadow and Bone, you might like Six of Crows duology because this one is superior. It's far superior. The duology is so much better written. The world is so much more vibrant than the Shadow and Bone series, and it's just the found family in this is so beautiful. And I cared for everybody in this book, and that writing is so beautiful too. It's so different from the Shadow and Bone trilogy, trust me. So yes, please read this, go into it knowing that you might get very emotional by the end of this book, especially if you really care for the characters, so, which I did. I really did. And yeah, I just want all of them to be very, very happy and just, yeah. So yeah, this book broke me, and I was still really, even after I finished the next book that I'm gonna be talking about when I read after this one, I was still thinking about it, to say the least. So yes, I'm also doing a vlog for this one. I don't know if I'm going to upload it, but I talked about this book there and what I went through, and yeah, I loved it though, but it hurt me, it broke me. The next book that I finished is the ExDoc by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is a contemporary book, adult. Here we are following our main character. I forgot her name already. She works at a radio station, and the radio doesn't have a lot of listeners lately, and so to combat that, she came up with the idea of doing an ExTalk show where she invites exes to go on the show and talk about, the relationship, how it ended, etc., etc. She ends up working with her enemy in the station. And oh, did I say what I rated Crooked Kingdom? I rated 5 stars, obviously. So the ExDoc I rated 3.5 stars. I liked it, I enjoyed it, but I feel like there was just a few things that I wanted to be fleshed out a bit more. We do follow our main character who is at the point in her life where things are changing, like her best friend's getting married, moving to a different state, and they've been friends for real long, and then she has had this job for years and there's a change in the employees working there, and they're really on the cusp of, in a way, really dying off. I don't want to say that term, but yeah, the radio station is on the brink of collapse essentially, and so they've been trying to come up with shows that will bring back audience and listeners, and so she comes up with this one. And also she faces a lot of sexism and misogynism in her workplace, and also she's older than the main love interest. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. It was fun, but especially at the end, it kind of felt like how the final conflict was solved was just a little too dramatic and not very realistic, and it felt like it was just forced to make it like a grand gesture kind of thing. So yeah, it was okay. I enjoyed it, but there were a few things that I wish were a bit different. So that's the ExDoc. Next one that I finished is The Promised Land by Barack Obama, and this is a memoir. This is 768 pages long. This is another book that took me a while to finish. Thankfully, I had the audiobook. I was actually waiting for the audiobook before actually reading the physical book. I do have the physical book. My mom has it right now. She's reading it, and I just wanted to listen to the audiobook while I'm reading it as well, because Barack Obama is also narrating the audiobook, so I wanted to listen to it while reading it, which is really good, and I enjoyed it a lot. There was a lot of things that went over my head in terms of like government stuff and politics and stuff, because I'm not American. I don't know how the government works here, and it's very hard for me to kind of, it's like politics is really complicated to me, but at the same time it's frustrating for me to learn, because the more I learn about politics, the more, you know, you understand how, you know, laws are passed and policy. It makes me very frustrated and angry with how the government is run, especially when I fully understand it. And so it's hard for me to kind of let myself do it. I kind of have to do it very slowly to understand like a system of government. So a lot of things that like the government stuff that he talks about in the book kind of went over my head, but I kind of understand how it worked, like, you know, the policies that he passed, the challenges that he faced as the president, and I really enjoyed it. And it really, in the book, it really showed me just how much he really cared for America, for the country, and how he really wanted it to be better, and, you know, just the challenges that he faced as the president. And a lot of people think that, you know, being a president of a place is like, you know, just that's it, it's all of it. But it really it showed me that being the president of America, you're also like the most powerful one of the most powerful leaders in the world. And so you're also, you know, meeting with other presidents or other leaders from other countries, and you have a say in in certain things that affect all the countries, and it's a very big, heavy responsibility, and it's a lot. So yeah, I had more appreciation for him after reading the book, and I definitely want to read the next part of his memoir that he's going to be releasing, because I think there's 2 that he wants to release, so that he is planning on releasing. So Promised Land by Barack Obama. Next one that I read is part of the Asian Readathon. So all of the books that I read for the Asian Readathon, I'm gonna go through really, really quickly, because I do have a vlog that's coming up. So if you want to know more about my experience reading it, my thoughts as I'm reading it, go watch that one. Although honestly, it's not a very good vlog, because I kind of forgot how to vlog, and I kind of forgot, you know, updating and stuff and talking about the book and of the books. Yeah, so I would still recommend you watch it though, because I'm gonna go through these books really quickly. The first book that I finished is Turtle Under Ice by Julia Del Rosario. This is a story written verse by a Filipino author, and the main characters are Filipino Americans. So we're following our main character, Rowena, and she's going through a lot with her family. Her mom died years ago, and her father married, and when he married, her stepmother became pregnant. And then one day her older sister, went missing. And it's a story of their relationship, being sisters, and also their family, and how the loss of their mom has really changed them and their lives growing up, and how, you know, there's a lot of things that them as a family are going through, but it kind of, because they were going through it differently from each other, they kind of fell apart. And it's really sad and very emotional, but I really enjoyed reading the story about the 2 sisters, because I have a sister myself, and although we didn't really grow up very close, we became very close in the recent years, and I just felt for her as a Filipino myself, and the importance of family and sisterhood, and how loss can really change and kind of make you feel like you don't know this person anymore. And so yeah, I really enjoy this one. What did I rate this? I rate this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Promised Land, 4.5 because 4.75 because there were a few things that I didn't understand, which is partially my fault still. Next one that I finished is one of my most anticipated fantasy reads ever, and that is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah, Faizal, and We Free the Stars. I recently finished this one. So We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars. I rated We Hunt the Flame 4.75 stars, and We Free the Stars 4.75 out of 5 stars. Honestly, 5 out of 5 stars. This whole duology is just so good. A lot of people have talked about this. A lot of people have said that this is one of their favorite fantasy series, which I completely understand, because me too. This is so good. This is a duology, and we are following Zafira, who is a hunter disguised as a man, and she goes to a quest to bring back magic, and she meets Nazir, who is a prince of death. He is the crown prince and also a trained assassin, and it's an enemies to lovers, and I really love it. And there's also an element of fan family here, and I just want to say Hafsah Faizal's writing is very beautiful, so poetic, lyrical, and these books are dense. Like the first book is 500 pages, almost 500 pages, I believe, 470 pages, and then the second book is 500 plus pages, and it's pretty long, but it's also very dense. The font is very small, and there's a lot happening every chapter. The chapters are very short, but there's a lot happening in like a chapter. If you kind of, space out like I do sometimes when I'm reading, and you miss an important detail, you're gonna get confused. So just know that going into this one, but I really enjoyed this one. So beautiful. So Hafsah Faizal now is now one of my top authors, and an alibi author for me as well, because she just has a beautiful way of writing a story and writing relationships, writing in a way that even if it's a short chapter, there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of things that are very subtly told but are very important. Like I cried in the first book after just like 100 pages, 150 pages, because it made me care for the characters already so much. And yeah, it's beautiful. Also, the romance is so good. The angst, the chemistry between two of the characters, Zafira and Nasir, so good. Read this book if you haven't already. So good. We have the Flame and We Free the Stars by Hafsah Faizal. Alright, next one is Kim Ji Eun by Chon Nam-ju. Kim Ji Eun, born in 1982 by Chon Nam-ju. This is very short. This is like 80 to 150 pages, and the font is pretty big. And this is following our main character, Kim Ji Eun, who was born in 1982. It starts with her husband going to this psychiatrist, who tells the psychiatrist that his wife, Kim Ji Eun, has experienced a psychotic breakdown, essentially. And we follow her story from, her earlier years up to her marriage and the things that she goes through, and this. And okay, reading this, a lot of people have told me that this is gonna make me very angry and very frustrated. And when I was reading this, I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting a little bit frustrated. Not angry so much, but the ending is what made me very, 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 very angry. I almost threw this across my room. I threw it on my bed though, but yeah, I threw it, and I was like, oh my god, and I put my head in my hands, and I was very angry reading this one. And a lot of people, a lot of like celebrities and that have been known to be reading this one or have read this one have gotten a lot of hate from Korean citizens, because this really talks about the misogynism in Korean culture, and it's still very rampant now, even up till to this day in Korea. And yeah, makes me very angry. Made me very angry. There's a line here that she said that pretty much encompasses the entire book. The world had changed a great deal, but the little rules, contracts, and customs had not, which meant that the world hadn't actually changed at all. It's kind of the same thing with feminism all over, and racism as well. There's a lot of things that have changed, but the little things that we do as a society, it's still something that tells you that the world hadn't really changed a lot. Hasn't changed at all. It's gonna take a while. We might have laws telling us, this is equality, we're all equal, but the way people live their lives and treat other people are still very backwards. Still not very close to equality. So yes. Kim Ji Eun, born in 1982, very fast read. I suggest you read it too. It's a really good one. 5 out of 5 stars, but it made me very angry. The next book that I read, another one for the Asian Readathon, Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I have a lot of tabs for this one. I felt like I should tab like the entire book because this is so good. Read it. So this is a memoir by Chanel Miller. She is a survivor of the Stanford assault case, and a lot of points and questions are raised by her that I agree with, that I ask myself. Her experience, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But the fact is, it happens to a lot of people, and there's just so much that we can still change, and so much that we have to change as a society in terms of treating women, and the social justice and rape culture, and just there's like so much gaslighting here. It's like really rampant. Also, there's goodness too. As much as there is a lot of like really negative things that she has experienced, she has received a lot of good from her family, from people that she cares about, and from strangers on the internet as well when they learn of her story. But it makes me emotional thinking about it. Read it. It's 5 out of 5 stars. Did I say that already? Read it. So good. I want to give this to everybody to read, because I feel like it's a very important book to read for everybody. Read it. So, namanya baca novel. The next book that I finished is Bone Crier's Moon and Bone Crier's Dawn by Catherine Purdy. I received the Bone Crier's Dawn special edition from Owlcrite, so I've been wanting to read this book because it's also a fantasy YA fantasy duology, and it's an enemies to lovers. We are following our two main characters, Aless and what's his name? Aless and Vashon. So here in this world there are bone criers, which are similar to witches, and they have this ritual where they play a song and they lure their soulmate, and for them to be formally be part of the farriers, or like formally part of, you know, their covens, they have to kill their soulmates within a year. And Alessa's soulmate is Vashon, and Vashon is actually, his father was also killed by a bone crier, and he has been wanting revenge on bone criers ever since then. And I really enjoyed this one. I rated the first book 3.25 stars, and then the second book 3.75 stars. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I felt like the romance was a little bit too fast, like a little bit underdeveloped. Like, there's definitely attraction between the two of them, but there wasn't a lot of getting to know yet. I felt like we did that in the second book, but they were already in love in the first book. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was good. It was okay. I liked it. I enjoyed it. But I felt like, especially with the mythology and the importance of the mythology as a story progressed, I felt like we didn't really explore that a lot. Like, there was a lot of world building in terms of the magic system and world building in general. Like, I didn't really understand, like, you know, the world itself. Like, when is it set historically? Like, you know, when historically it would have been set or like inspired to be set in. Also, you know, the way of living, etc. We got it from the bone criers, like their coven, but they're separate from like society at large, and we didn't really get a lot of society at large kind of way of living. So I felt like very focused on our group and a group of characters and was important to the story, but not necessarily, you know, in general, which I felt like I would have gotten like a lot more understanding of the story if we were given more world building. And I do like the relationship between our main character Aless and her best friend Sabine. I really like their relationship and how it kind of changed as, you know, go through this process where Aless was actually kidnapped by Vashon, and, you know, as the story progressed. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. It was fun, but I felt like I needed a little bit more from the story. So yeah, the next one that I read is a collection of poems by Lily Reinhardt. This is her first book, Swimming Lessons, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. I felt like there was a few things could have been edited a little bit more. Now, I don't know a lot about poems personally, but I've read a few poem books, a few things that I felt like were unedited or not edited, or like it could have been a little bit better in terms of how it's presented. But yes, a 3.5. I enjoyed this one. It's like kind of like a memoir biography kind of thing from Lily Reinhardt, and I like her as, you know, she seems like a really cool and good kind of person. So that I finished is Outrun the Moon by Stacey Lee. This was sent to me by Penguin Teen along with her other books, Dancer's Girl and Luck of the Titanic. I finished this one, and this is set in 1906 San Francisco, following our character Mercy Wong attends this school, like an all-exclusive white girls school, and she has to leave her family behind to attend the school. And in the school, she meets obviously girls who are different from her, who had different experience from her. They're all white, obviously, and she experiences, you know, racism because it's 1906. She's Chinese American. A devastating earthquake hits California, and she has to survive now with this group of people that she hasn't really gotten along with. And it's a story of found family, but also family, and her love for her family, and, you know, the reason why she has to leave her family behind to give them a good life and to get an education that she wants and she fights for. I really like her main character because she knows what she wants. She really fights for what she wants, and she really does try to do whatever she can to get what she thinks she needs. And she's just very smart. She's business savvy too, and even though she's a young girl, she kind of has this she kind of knows what she wants and how she can get it. Just very smart, and I really, really enjoyed this one. So I rated this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one, and I haven't read any historical fiction set in, you know, the Western world following an Asian character. This is the first time, so I really enjoyed this one. It gives you a glimpse firsthand, I guess, on what people of color were experiencing during this time from an actual person of color. So Around the Moon by Stacey Lee, read it. I really enjoyed the character. I really enjoyed the relationships that she formed with the people that were so different from her, who had very different experiences from her, and how they all changed as they spend more time with each other, just surviving, and taking one day at a time after this very devastating earthquake. So yes, Around the Moon by Stacey Lee. And I also finished The Downstairs Girl by the same author, and this one is a book that a lot of people have been talking about in BookTube, and a lot of people were saying this is really good. And we're following another Chinese American character named Jo Kwon. This is set in Atlanta in 1890, and Jo Kwon moonlights as this advice columnist for this newspaper, and she's called Miss Sweetie. She starts talking about addressing the changes in society with the suffragist movement, feminism, and also racism. And through this advice column that she starts, she learns about her family because she was actually abandoned as a kid, and she starts to investigate or try to learn more about her parents and what happened with her parents and why she was abandoned, etc. But also, again, suffragist movement and her role in it, and the discussions that she has sparked through her advice column and through the advice that she gives to people who have sent letters to her as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I really was looking forward to reading this one because I used to be part of our school newspaper when I was in elementary, and I really enjoyed that one. I really loved reading it and writing for it as well. And so I was looking forward to reading this one as well and seeing how she writes and her voice, and I really enjoyed this one. I liked the way she writes and her voice, and also the romance is so cute. I really like the romance. Even with this one, the romance is also very cute. It's not necessarily the main plot of the story, obviously, but it was very well incorporated into the story, and it was very cute with this one as well. And again, I really enjoyed her relationships with the people around her that she considers family, and her experiences as a person of color during this time in the South, with a lot of changes still happening in society and in the world, the suffragist movement, and how in the beginning it was only mainly white women who were trying to fight for the rights, but obviously the people of color also need the equal rights, and it's still moving to that point. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Again, another Chinese character, an Asian character set in the Western world during these very important pivotal moments in history. Enjoyed it so much. It really made me angry though with the racism, because it just makes me angry and sad. But the characters so far that I've read from Stacey Lee are very strong, very smart. They know what they want and they know how to get it. And if they don't know how to get it, they're going to try very hard to still try to get it. They're still very smart and savvy, and if they fight for what they want, they know that they know what they deserve, the kind of treatment that they deserve, and they're going to fight for it. So good. So good. And I'm currently reading Luck of the Titanic by Stacey Lee, and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm very afraid though, because we know how the Titanic ends and what happens. But yes, I'm very excited to read this one. And the chapters have dates. So it's like a countdown, and it's making me scared, but also looking forward to it, seeing how the story will unfold. But yes, so those are all the books that I read for the month of May. Still a lot of books. It's a lot, even though I didn't meet my entire TBR, but it was a very ambitious one. I wasn't thinking that I was actually going to finish all of them, especially with the first few books that I read that put me in a reading slump and just kind of made me very emotional, kind of put me off. I'm talking about Crooked Kingdom. I'm still thinking about it, still making me emotional, because how do you move on from that? And then reading Kim Ji Eun, I Know My Name, and taking the time to really absorb those two books was a lot. So I'm still very, very happy with my month of reading of May, because I felt like I read so many things from this month and learned so many things from these books from this month. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you on my next one. I will be doing a June TBR as well, because I do have some books that I do want to read this month as well. And it's also going to be very ambitious, maybe much more than a previous one, but I'm very excited to talk about the books that I'm going to be reading, and so I will see you then. Bye.